What's up? What's happening? Welcome in on a Tuesday, a Vibe Check Tuesday. Of course, our phone number that you can hit us at there starting pretty much immediately with a question that so many of you were eager to answer at 301-230-0980 is, who do you want the Commanders to take at number 2? Now, we do not do this often because if I'm being totally honest, I would quit if we spent every single day between the time the season ended and the draft going, hey, who do you, the fans, want for the number 2 overall pick? Because it matters next to none. You have professional scouts who are getting paid a lot of money. You have a general manager who's new and got paid a lot of money this offseason to make that determination for the team and what they think is obviously the most important thing. It is not because I think that none of you, your opinion doesn't matter at all. It's not because I personally am not interested, but in a throwback to a previous era where we differentiate between things that are interesting and important, it is somewhat interesting, but not remotely important. That said, I do think it's interesting, and we are in the interesting business, to check in every once in a while as fans have continued to consume copious amounts of content here on this radio station and others, and read things and listen to podcasts and such, and gather more information about who these quarterbacks are. I think what's been fun is getting to take command with Logan specifically, because like so many of you, I revere Logan's opinion and know that, because he studies it at an incredibly intense level, and has an expertise when he is studying. We can all look at Russian as a language written in front of us. Most of us don't know what it means. Logan has that higher level of understanding when he's watching all 22 and to really know what he's supposed to be looking for based off his own playing career, what works in this league, and an immense amount of time he's spent developing relationships with scouts as a player and now as a former player and analyst. And so it's been fun to watch his opinion evolve and take pieces of it, because I like to take the information he gives me and kind of put it in my formula of things that matter to me more maybe than they do to him. And that doesn't make either one of us right or wrong. It makes us 2 evaluators. That is the same process that GMs are going with across the league. There are 2, there are certainly going to be scouts, whether that's low-level scouts, high-level scouts, whatever, who think Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye are the exact, they agree on who Drake Maye is. They agree on who Jayden Daniels is. And they want opposite guys because the things that they value are different. So I think it's fun as we are in our Vibe Check Tuesday, closest to the 1 month away from the draft mark. And especially as we are hearing all kinds of rumors flying at the NFL's annual meeting, the owners' meetings down in Orlando, I would like to know where all of you are. 301-230-0980. I would like, for once, your strong opinions and feelings on who the Commanders should take at the number 2 overall pick. I'm going to do one thing that will upset a small part of you, but I'm going to take Caleb Williams off the board because he's not going to be on the board. I know that there are some people who just seem to think that Chicago's not going to take Caleb Williams. That's not what's happening. Chicago is taking Caleb Williams at number 1. I would actually bet my life savings on that and feel like I'd be a pretty good place to double my money. I don't think that the bookies would take that. Is kind of where we're at on that. He's an overwhelming favorite for a reason. He is the best player in this draft. It is the correct thing for Chicago to do. It is a no-brainer. They will do it. They are going to take Caleb Williams at number 1. So Caleb Williams is not available, and he is also not available. You can't call and say I would trade up for Caleb Williams because you're not giving, you'd have to give up 3-4 first-round picks, and that's not happening. So Caleb Williams is off the board. Other than that, everyone else is on the board. If you want to go off the board, so to speak, and take a defensive tackle, or an offensive tackle, I should say, you want to take Marvin Harrison Jr. for whatever reason, that's fine. But knowing what we know, whatever it is that you value, who do you want the Commanders to take and why? 301-230 230-0980. I will say, Logan and I had a really good conversation about JJ McCarthy earlier, as that rumor made its way around yesterday, thanks to Tom Pelissero. And we're going to play a sneak preview. This podcast isn't coming out till tomorrow, but we are going to give you a sneak preview coming up at 5 o'clock today via Take Command. Logan and I talking about McCarthy. So that's coming up in a little bit. Your calls, though, are next. 301-230-0980. Who do you want at number 2? This is The Hoffman Show. I'm kind of talking about this because, one, it's a month from the draft. 2, it is, the rumors are flying hot and heavy right now. And this comes on the heels of, for instance, Mike Garafolo yesterday speaking on his NFL Network show, The Insiders, and saying that he's hearing a lot of Jayden Daniels stuff when it comes to Washington.
I love Jayden Daniels. I think he's sensational. I think he does a lot of the things that you're talking about that you have to do in the modern NFL. Drake Maye, a little bit more of a traditional style quarterback. Also got that commanding presence. I'll be at UNC with Steve Smith for his pro day. So tune into that on
Steve's
NFL
pro
Plus.
Day?
What's that?
Steve Smith's
No,
pro day?
Steve Smith for Drake Maye's pro day. Okay, and there's Drake Maye right there.
Very serious television show
He was
they
a good
do.
route runner.
What's that?
Steve was a good route runner.
Stay on topic here. Drake Maye, okay, a guy that's in consideration there. But I'll tell you what, when you poll the other teams here, they think that Washington is locking in on Jayden Daniels for whatever that's worth. Really, it doesn't matter what they think in the end, but they're starting to get the feel like he's going to wind up being the guy at number 2. We shall see.
We shall see, which was funny because Dan Quinn at the NFC Coaches Breakfast this morning said, if anybody knows who we're taking it to, please can someone tell me because Adam and I haven't decided yet. That didn't stop Tom Pelissero yesterday from saying this.
It's been really interesting because everybody's always trying to figure out, especially at the top of the draft, what the other teams are doing. When I've had conversations here with executives for other teams who know Adam Peters well, know the situation well, the most popular answer for what they do at number 2 is JJ McCarthy. So a lot of drama still to come.
Just like Mac Jones. Just like Mac Jones the last time Adam Peters had this situation.
With the number 2 pick or wherever Washington ends up picking, whoever ends up picking at number 2.
So all of a sudden everyone's like, Garafolo says Jayden. Everyone else says May, except for Pelissero, who says he's talked to people who know Adam Peters and look at the situation, and their best guess is they take JJ McCarthy. So welcome to silly season. Who do you want? 301-230-0980. That is our phone number. Paulie gets us started. Paulie, what's up? Thanks for calling. You're first up on this Vibe Check Tuesday.
Hell to the W, man. How you doing, Craig?
I'm good, bro. How are you? And who would you like to see them take at number 2?
I'm doing well, man. Hey, at number 2, I want Drake Maye. I've been saying this all along. If we wasn't going to trade up to get Caleb Williams, I wanted Drake Maye. I want a traditional quarterback, man. I don't want an athlete playing quarterback. I want a quarterback. I want somebody that's an assassin in the pocket. You know, I want a Justin Herbert type, a Joe Burrow type. You know, a quarterback who's a quarterback with athletic ability, not an athlete playing quarterback. And if they take JJ McCarthy, I'm going to lose my freaking mind on 980. I promise.
You want to know, but Paulie, you want to know what's really funny? The thing you described, a quarterback who's a quarterback and can rip balls from the pocket consistently with athletic ability, you know you're describing JJ McCarthy, right?
No, I'm not. JJ McCarthy is a game manager. And I'm saying this, the only reason why he's getting all his hype right now, he can thank Brock Purdy.
They're totally different. Not totally different, but they're different players. McCarthy's more physically gifted by a significant amount.
No. McCarthy is 6'2". Brock Purdy is 6'1", but Brock Purdy weighs 220. McCarthy's 205, 210.
Purdy's got a 7 out of 10, maybe 6.5 out of 10 arm. JJ's got a 7.5, 8. He also probably runs a solid.
My point is, Purdy's a game manager. He runs the offense. Right?
Sure, and that's what I hear you. That's what McCarthy did at Michigan, no doubt about it. I think that there is questions about whether he can do more because he managed like Brock Purdy, by the way, who just was in the Super Bowl. Which
Can I say this one thing before you let me go to?
What's up?
Say this one thing. All right, my thing with McCarthy is if he's so good, why wasn't he showcased at Michigan? Don't tell me about all the talent and stuff they had, because John Harbaugh has always been a run first coach, right? But he sure did showcase Andrew Luck for 2-3 years.
Well, I mean, that was different. Luck is a generational prospect. Also, I would argue that Jim Harbaugh might have known what he was doing because they won the national championship.
I'm not saying he didn't know what he was doing. I'm saying, like, don't all of a sudden tell me that JJ McCarthy is climbing up the charts and he ain't played a game in 4 months. And I know he won the national championship and all that, but he had a whole season too. He's a game manager. That's too high. Top 10 is a too high pick.
Here's what I would tell you, Paulie. This would be my pitch to you. If they take McCarthy, and I'm not telling you that Drake isn't the higher upside prospect, and I like a lot about Drake's game. There's stuff that scares the bejesus out of me about Drake's game, and I would say the same about McCarthy and the same about Daniels. But if they wind up taking McCarthy, I think you're underselling him. That's all I would tell you.
They're all flawed, and really the guy I would take would be Big Penix Energy. You know, I just don't like his age. At 25, entering the season, you're talking about 5-year contract. He'd be 30 when he's up to renegotiate his deal. So if it wasn't for his age, I would be championing Michael Penix in that spot.
All right,
I'll take Drake Maye, man. I need me a pass with Josh Allen type player. Hail to the W.
All right, Paulie. Thank you. Paulie getting us started here on the Hoffman Show. More of your calls at 301-230-0980. I think that, like, this is the thing. These quarterbacks all exist on relatively equal levels, I think, for me at this point. But there are different flavors, if you will. Like, what matters the most to you is going to inform which guy that you like. I'd also, again, say, like, if you think McCarthy's a game manager, that's fine. I want a really, really good game manager who can grow into being a better player. Like, I want Drake Maye to be a game manager his rookie year. That dude ain't ready to go, fly ride without training wheels his first year. I think that's probably an important thing that we should say. I know that makes people lose their mind. How could you take a guy at number 2 if he's not ready to play? Most dudes don't come in the league ready to play, at least not ready to play well. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Justin in Richmond. Justin, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show. We got Justin, or what happened with Justin?
Justin actually wanted the Commanders to trade back and draft Marvin Harrison. That's what he wanted. And I told him we were sticking to quarterback. Okay,
well, I wish we still had Justin on the phone because I would like to know then who does he think is playing quarterback?
It's a great question.
Look, I'm not mad at getting Marvin Harrison. If you can figure out how to do that, like, that dude's awesome. That dude's the best receiving prospect in a long time. And by the way, it's crazy because the third, fourth, and fifth best receiving prospects in a long time, might be later in this draft. Like, these dudes are nasty. Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, like, these dudes are sick. But at the end of the day, like, you got to have someone play quarterback, and you got to get one this year. And maybe, there's a lot of late push for a guy like Spencer Rattler. I've seen a couple of analysts that I respect being like, he's my QB 5 behind McCarthy, ahead of Bo Nix, ahead of Michael Penix. So, like, if you're like, I think we can get Spencer Rattler at 36, and I'd like Marvin Harrison Jr. for him to throw to, and I'll, we'll coach him up. I guess that's an option. That wouldn't be the option I go with, but at least you'd be putting a quarterback in a hella good position. All right, 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Let's go to JYD, Junkyard Dog, with us on the Hoffman Show. JYD, who you got? What you got?
Well, I would drop back somewhat in the first round, and I would take Bo Nix.
Okay, what do you like about Bo Nix?
The type quarterback that you basically, he's not a shiny toy or whatever. You can drop him into any offense, I think, and he can throw the ball all over the field. He can throw the ball in the intermediate numbers of the field. This guy basically playing quarterback in the National Football League, you come upon a lot of third down situations. And if you look at the kid from LSU, They didn't. They faced less third down situations than any team that we're talking about, or whatever. You must be able to produce on third down with your arm. It's not always going to be with your legs or whatever. Legs can be broken or whatever.
Well, technically, arms can be broken too, but I hear what you're saying.
In the NFL and being able to hit those third down plays.
Yeah, totally. I hear you, which is, by the way, why a lot of people like JJ McCarthy, because he was in a lot of those third down situations. But oh, there you go. Sorry, phone got cut off there. But like McCarthy had to deliver, like they'd run the ball twice and be getting a bad way, and McCarthy'd have to bail him out, and he did on a fairly regular basis. Like his third down and red zone stuff is the best tape in the class, but he doesn't have a lot of tape in other places. Meanwhile, like a lot of the stuff that gets you in those third down situations or out of those third down situations, those deep digs and comebacks and those types of things, Drake Maye's got the best tape in of the guys that we're talking about. Nix is a really interesting prospect because I think there's a lot of talent there. He's a good athlete. He's got a good arm. He's kind of like a plus, like a slight plus at basically everything. But his offense didn't ask him to do a whole lot. Like he threw a ton of screens, like bubbles, and then a ton of short game stuff that's like predetermined, easy throws, not a lot of mental processing, not a lot of risk, not a lot of tight windows, like all of that stuff that you need to see in the NFL. It's limited on Nix's tape. Which is funny because, like, that's kind of the complaint about a guy like McCarthy, except for instead of, like, oh, the other stuff on his tape is handoffs, whereas with McCarthy, the other stuff on Nix's tape is, like, the same amount of plays, just bubble screens. Yet we don't knock Nix necessarily for that, or some people don't knock Nix for that. So it's funny how that gets turned. I do think that Bo Nix is very interesting. Obviously, that's a trade back scenario. So maybe if you like Bo Nix better than or kind of equal to some of these other guys, and you can also get something else, and you trade back, especially way back or trade back twice, you can accumulate a ton of draft capital. I don't think that's crazy, probably overcomplicating it, but something to consider for sure. All right, we got some more calls coming in. So more options for sure. Some arguments as I look up at the call screener. Some names on the board that haven't been said yet. 301-230-0980. We are 1 month from the NFL draft. Who do you want the Washington Commanders to take at the number 2 overall pick? That's what we're checking on this Vibe Check Tuesday. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. What do we make of the JJ McCarthy rumors? Logan Paulson and I discuss at the top of the hour. But right now, 1 month from the NFL draft, who do you want to see the Commanders pick at number 2? It's a Vibe Check Tuesday, and we're taking your calls, 301-230-0980. Let's keep things going with Emery. Emery, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
What's up, Craig? This is Emery, like the boy, but you can call me M. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, Jayden Daniels for President Holmes. All that Drake Maye talk, all those Bo Nix and everybody else, listen, if they not better than Will Levis, you got to throw them back. And I don't feel like Drake Maye is that much better than Sam Howell. I mean, we could have paid fifth-round money for a first-round quarterback. Don't make sense to take the next year upgrade when you could just get somebody who's actually mobile and can actually manage the game and doesn't throw 21 interceptions in a year. I'm just saying.
I feel like you just said 17 different things, and I'm confused at who you're talking about with half of them.
Well, this is the thing. So when you look at Drake Maye, what I saw when I looked at his tape was that he's constantly kind of fluttered because of his line. That's the same thing that Sam Howell was. Because Sam Howell was constantly under duress, he was constantly throwing interceptions. One thing about Jayden Daniels, he doesn't throw interceptions. He threw, 4 interceptions the whole year, and he has a deep ball, and we have better receivers than Neighbors and Thomas. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a no-brainer. How often do we get to choose at the number 2 spot?
No, I think you make some good points. I'd also push back on a couple, including that there are better receivers in D.C. than Neighbors and Thomas. There are especially not better receivers in D.C. than Neighbors and Thomas relative to the defenders that they'll be facing. With all due respect to the SEC, it ain't the NFL. Malik Neighbors compared to your average SEC corner, compared to Terry McLaurin versus your average NFL corner, like that's advantage Neighbors all day. Same with Thomas over Jahan. That's not a fair fight. I'd also say, relatively speaking, Jayden's line was a lot better in college than Drake's or what Sam dealt with here. So, you're comparing apples and oranges a little bit, but I do think some of the comparisons do hold up, right? I think Jayden's ability to avoid turnovers is something that is applaudable, is something that is a huge positive. And part of that occasionally is he's not, instead of forcing a ball, he'll pull it down and run. And when you're as good at running as he is, that's a good thing. I think that there's some good points, but let's not get carried away with some of the comparisons between LSU and an NFL team.
Well, I don't think you can compare the receivers on a college team to the receivers on a National Football League team. Scary Terry is at the top echelon of receivers, not just in the league, but period.
Right, but here's the thing: Malik Neighbors might be right there with him. He's that good.
Yeah, but he's not proven.
He was proven as hell in college, and it matters who you play.
He's coming to league and tank, though. Look at Addison from last year. You didn't see the same type of production from Addison.
Malik Neighbors and Jordan Addison are not remotely the same caliber of prospects.
The explosion is similar.
We got to get past 40 times in 3-cone drills, and we got to get a little deeper in the sky. And thanks for the call. I appreciate it. I love your enthusiasm, but I'm telling you right now, Anthony, if you took a poll of NFL GMs and put them on equal contracts tomorrow, I don't know that it'd be unanimous that Malik Neighbors isn't that Terry McLaurin tomorrow is selected over Malik Neighbors. That's the kind of prospect that some people think Neighbors is. Think of when Jamar Chase came in the league or JJ came in the league.
Yeah.
Those dudes were top 5 receivers pretty instantly. Yeah. There's a chance Harrison, Odunze, different GMs, not all of them are going to be right, obviously, but there are certain GMs that would tell you Odunze will be that, Neighbors will be that, and or Marvin Harrison would be that. Certainly Harrison is the biggest guy there. I think the other two are pretty evenly split, but again, you're Terry versus an NFL corner is a tough day for Terry, even if he wins more than he loses, because he's awesome. He's a top 10 receiver.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors versus an SEC corner, even Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama, who might be first-round picks.
He was cooking it.
Barbecue chicken. And Brian Thomas against the second best dude that some team has got? Come on now. Come on. And that's why it's hard. That doesn't mean that Jayden isn't good, because sometimes, Jayden's job was to hit a wide open guy in stride. And you want to know what he did with relatively remarkable consistency en route to the Heisman Trophy and a bunch of wins? Do that. You can only take the test that's in front of you. So it's not meant to diminish Jayden, but let's not get crazy here.
I feel like that's the same argument you sort of can make for Joe Burrow, and
worked out, yeah.
When he was coming out, he had Jamar, he had Jefferson, he had Clyde Lair, he had Randy Moss's son as a tight end.
Oh yeah,
so he had weapons galore, and I think a lot of people were questioning whether or not it was the offensive line that he was behind, the weapons around him that helped him become who he was.
And it worked out. Yeah. Because and the thing is with Burrow, he literally had the best season any of us had ever seen.
Yeah.
So it's I know his weapons are great, but other people have had great weapons and they've never done what he did.
Yeah.
And I think Jayden has some of that, not to the level that Burrow did, because Burrow also went undefeated and they won a national championship, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep.
Jayden, won the Heisman Trophy. He was the best player in college football. But being the best player in college football doesn't mean that you're going to be the best player in pro football. All right, let's keep going with Dontel. Dontel, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show. Who would you like to see the Commanders take with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft?
Hey, Craig, how's it going, man? I appreciate you taking my call today.
You got it.
Real quick real quick before, I don't mean to take up a whole lot of radio time, but real quick before I answer your questions, man, I just wanted to say my heart and prayers go out to everybody involved in the Baltimore situation.
Yes, sir.
That happened this morning, man. It was unfortunate, and I mean, my prayers just go out to everybody involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Such terrible news to wake up to. I appreciate you mentioning that. Absolutely. All right. And you know, in the spirit of keeping people distracted from some of the sadness, let's keep going. Who you got at the number 2 pick?
Jayden Daniels, without question. I mean, Jayden Daniels don't only throw a big ball; he knows how to throw receivers open, and that's the gift that I think that he has, and that's what you need in the NFL. But with that being said, they need to also update their receivers, because it doesn't matter who we take at quarterback if they don't update the receivers, because we don't have a player that can win those 50-50 balls, if you know what I mean. Terry McLaurin is good. I give you that, but he's not a game changer. But Jayden Daniels, I think, can help us along the way, and that's who I would take with this pick.
I appreciate the call, Dontel. I think Terry is such an interesting receiver because he's been playing X, and I don't know that his highest and best use is as an X. It might be as a Z. I do think he's, for his size, remarkable at 50-50 balls, but he's not like your big X receiver, and I think that's an area where you could go in this draft. I also think that great offensive coordinators understand what routes certain guys run really well and put them in those situations, and Eric Bieniemy did not do that for Terry McLaurin last year. I don't know that he did it for Jahan Dotson. I don't know that he did it for anyone in particular. It seemed like Curtis Samuel got lucky and was able to run a bunch of stuff that he's really good at. But like they got to do better on the design front. And I do think Terry's skill set fits very well with some of the vertical nature of Cliff Kingsbury's probable offense. So I think that the receivers are okay for right now, with the potential to be really, really good in this offense. They do need to add, though. They do. I would get a big X. I would get a slot guy. Like in one of our mock drafts, we took Ladd McConkey out of Georgia in the second round because he fell, and I'm like, sweet, if he's there, like, let's go. I think there's a lot of potential here to upgrade the receiver position, but I think it's a slight overstate to be like, they don't have anybody who's a game changer. Like, Terry McLaurin is one of the 10 best receivers in football, probably, and that certainly qualifies for me. All right, we got 3 folks on hold now, which means we have some lines open as well. 301-230-0980. We'll get to Keith, Mark, and JT next, and we'll see who else we can fit in before the end of the hour here on the Team 980. Let's keep it going with Keith in Clinton. Keith, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show. Who do you want to see the Commanders take at the number 2 overall pick?
Hey, Craig. I'd like to go with Jayden Daniels because every throw that I'm watching, and if I'm not mistaken, you correct me if I'm wrong, your highlight reels are supposed to show some of your best throws, correct?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that is by definition a highlight reel, for sure.
Exactly. Jayden Daniels, I didn't see too many throws that his receivers had to break stride, stop, wait for the ball, turn in another direction or anything like that. With Maye, I saw, just too many plays where they had to slow down. Even when the receivers, a couple of them, when the receiver was wide open, literally had to slow down. It was like, why is he underthrowing the ball? So Maye's wasn't that good. His throws weren't that good. Caleb kind of scares me, even if they do a switch and we have a chance to get Caleb. When he said at the combine why he did not do the combine, well, my family and my friends and some of the people I talked to felt it was not good for me to do that. I wasn't about that because at that point, I'm telling you, at some point it's going to carry over if we get him to where it's almost like RG3's father again. Telling putting his input in everything.
I think people, to be honest, Keith, I think people are too scared here by RG, and I don't know that applies. Here's the baseline for Caleb, and I don't want to spend too much time on Caleb because we've kind of ruled him out because I'm pretty sure Chicago is going to take him. Right. He's the overwhelming favorite to be the number 1 pick. That's what you want. So why would anything he does can only hurt him? It can't help him. And so I understand the sentiment and where it comes from, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I will say your point about Jayden and Drake is a really good one. Jayden's highlights are sensational. Drake drives you nuts with some of the inconsistencies. I think the hard part is, and this is where different evaluators can come to different conclusions, is do you look at Jayden and be like, well, damn, he had great receivers who got open all the time because they're NFL caliber and he's behind a good O-line, so he's going to be able to be comfortable, while Drake is like dodging chaos at all times and none of his weapons were NFL caliber except for one in Tez Walker, and be like, well, maybe that was the receiver's fault. He's dodging pressure, so okay, the throw's a little behind, but like it's a miracle he got it off. And I think that's what makes this process really challenging, because I agree with you, and especially early in the process, I was so high on Jayden because I think I was watching a lot of the TV copy and some of that stuff. And I think as I've gone through it, it's evened out more, but there are definitely days where I still lean towards Jayden Daniels because I'm just like, I don't know, man. I like the film that looks really good. I like the highlights that look really good.
I do.
Because you can see it, you know?
Right. And I don't want to make things complicated. I'm going to let you go. I don't want to make things complicated. Let's stop trying to be complicated like we've always been. Draft back. Let's trade back to get more picks, and we're getting middle-class talent. We finally have a chance to get top talent. Don't trade back. Go ahead and get the quarterback. Don't try to get everybody this year. We have another year coming up. Get the top quarterback. Get Jayden Daniels. Don't trade our second-round pick. Use our picks. Go get an offensive lineman, since that's the next best group, the offensive lineman or wide receiver with our second pick. And just keep it simple. That's it.
I don't think that there's any issue with that strategy. Appreciate the call, Keith. Let's go to Mark in Chevy Chase, who I think disagrees. Mark, go ahead. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Yeah, I'd like to first off say that I rooted for Michigan this season, my nephew's alma mater. So there is a little heartfelt wanting to get JJ on the team. But that being said, I went to a Quaker school and we consensus build. I think that the consensus number one is Williams, Caleb Williams. I think at number two, there is a consensus. I think that Maine, Daniels, JJ are garnering interest. So I would try trading down to 4. And the reason I do that is if you type in Arizona news or Marvin Harrison Jr. news, you can go all the way back to last October where they've been planning on drafting Harrison. So if at number 2 we can somehow drop down to number 4, pick a quarterback there, we'd only miss out on the Patriots pick of a quarterback, and Harrison at 2, acquire some more draft. And who knows? Maybe.
But if you're, but Mark, here's the thing. Like, Mark, I hear your point. It sounds great, except for the part where if you're Arizona, you just stay put at 4. You don't have to give up any draft capital, and Marvin Harrison will fall to you. So why would you do that?
How would I do that? I'd go out and I'd say we're going to go get Harrison and try to strong.
And they will laugh at
Arizona
you. That you can't. That's no. All right, Mark. Thanks for the call. Some of y'all have played too much Madden with the force trades on. Like just straight up with like, you can put stuff out there and you can try, but at the end of the day, Arizona would be like, go ahead, take Harrison. Because then we'll just either take a Dunze or we'll take whatever. And the reason, if you Google Arizona Cardinals news, you're seeing Marvin Harrison, is because of where they are right now. So no. Let's go to JT. JT, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Appreciate that, Craig. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for calling in. Who do you want to see the Commanders take it to?
In my personal opinion, we got to take JD. I think that Daniels' season alone, he didn't have those games where in your words, he forgot how to play quarterback.
Right.
I think you look over time with his progression from Arizona State. As a true freshman, he goes up there and beats Justin Herbert and a number 6 Oregon team. And then each year he just continues to get better. And I think when you his floor with him, with the running ability that he has, to me his floor is so much higher, in terms of him not being a bust. Because at the end of the day, I would say it's probably downfall or a comp, for someone, if he doesn't turn out who we want him to be, would be like Tyrod Taylor. But Tyrod Taylor didn't throw the ball like Jayden Daniels threw the ball in college. So I just think that, highlights aside, the season he had was one of the best statistical quarterback seasons of all time. In fact, it was better than Joe Burrow. Now, the team, they didn't win as much as that team did because their defense wasn't on that same level of that Burrow defense. But, then you look at what scares me about May. I see all the intangibles. I see the prototype size. But when you struggle against UVA, NC State, and a down Clemson team, to me, that's scary. And I'd rather go after Jayden Daniels because to me it seems like a safer pick with more athletic upside. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great call. I think that's the best Jayden Daniels argument that I hear because it hits on the highs, which is, and the reasons why he's so intriguing. He was money all year. The consistency from him was unlike Drake, and frankly, it was unlike Caleb. It's unlike McCarthy. It's unlike all of them. He had the best college season. And the only hole you can poke in it is he also had a good O-line, multiple NFL receivers, and it wasn't because his job was relatively easy. And you can say similar things about Joe Burrow a bunch of years ago, and he's worked out more than fine. So it is tempting. It is tempting. I get the Jayden Daniels thing. And to be very clear, I don't feel like I haven't given my opinion yet, and it's because I don't have a strong one. I honestly think that all three of these quarterbacks, McCarthy, Daniels, Drake, if coached up well, can succeed in this league. And so it's a matter of which guy do you like, how do you want to build your offense, and I think Daniels is a perfectly acceptable answer to succeed. All right, let's wrap up with Noel. Noel, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show. Who do you want to see at that number 2 pick for Washington?
Hey, Craig. Thanks for letting me call in again. I really understand a lot of the arguments for Jayden Daniels. I think he does have the highest floor. I truly believe, though, that Drake Maye has the highest ceiling, and I know how much of a risk he might be at pick number 2. But for me, I just think that, I want our team, I want the Commanders to eventually win a Super Bowl. Next year, I wouldn't be surprised if we got Jayden Daniels, that we would be 9-8 or 10-7 just based off of his skill. I really am intrigued, though, by Drake so much that as we continue to build the team and then have him potentially develop in Cliff's system, he could turn into something really special if we handle him properly with how he's going to be in the offense. I really think that if we just continue to just grow and grow with him as the QB, he's got a shot. And again, it's really close. I would still lean Drake. I don't blame people saying Jayden, but I really think Drake Maye has a lot of potential, and I wouldn't mind at all taking a bite of that apple. So
yeah, Noel, I think that's a great call. Thank you, and I think you've hit on the what's so tantalizing about Drake Maye is if he can get the footwork stuff figured out, and he learns how to play on time, on rhythm, on balance, and they build a system that accentuates his strengths. You're looking at a Herbert Allen type of guy. He's not quite physically either of those guys, but maybe there's some stuff in there that's better than those guys in certain areas. It feels hard to find something better than Allen in any area outside of consistency, but maybe it is the consistency. Maybe it's the approach that he takes and the mentality he brings into games that is not quite as loose as Josh Allen's can be at times. Maybe that's the thing that's his superpower, and if you can harness that, clean up the fundamentals, you're looking at a really high-level player. Could also never improve on that stuff and goes belly up, and you're screwed. So this is the challenge. This is why Adam Peters is getting paid very handsomely to make this determination, and why we're just going to sit here and watch with bated breath over the next month. So I think we got through all of that without a single JJ McCarthy call. Which honestly is not that surprising considering I think what his reputation is. But why is the quarterback from Michigan so intriguing? Why are so many NFL teams high on him? Well, we talked about it earlier today on Take Command. Logan Paulson and I did a podcast that's not even out for public consumption yet. But here's the thing. I'm in charge. So if I want to play a conversation from Take Command before it's out in podcast land, I can do that. And we're going to next.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.